Hello, welcome to the Natural Cancer Support Channel. I'm your host, Dr. David Lemmon, naturopathic cancer expert. And I'm here with my guest, Trent Brock, 4 or 5 time cancer survivor. And he has an incredible story. So I'm excited to hear it and share it with you. Welcome to the show, Trent.
Thank you so much. Pleasure to be here.
So, yeah, just dive right in and share your story, kind of where you were before, just really briefly, your normal life, and then what happened with the diagnosis.
Sure. Well, I'm originally from North Louisiana, and I traveled around the states and the world doing IT systems, ended up in New Zealand, and I was there doing IT, and I had an opportunity to start a kettle corn business on the weekends with a buddy. The thing blew up. They didn't have kettle corn in New Zealand at the time. So I kind of transitioned from the IT thing over to the popcorn thing, working small business, growing. We ended up being the number 2 popcorn manufacturer in the country after 14 years of business that I was in business for. Back in 2019, in the spring, working in the popcorn factory that I called Popcorn Heaven because I was there so much, I started limping around. And I went to a couple of GPs. They all kind of had the same diagnosis. You've torn a butt muscle picking up something heavy in the factory. But this was going on for a couple of months and it just wasn't getting better. It was getting worse. The more I used it, the longer it went on, the more pain. And it, kind of got to the point where, after work, I just go home and go straight to bed. And I was in bed until the next day, which isn't normal for me. Usually I'm pretty much a busybody. Had to go into the hospital for some blood work, totally unrelated to the hip thing. And the hematologist said, "Look, Trent, something's wrong. I think we're going to do an x-ray." Kind of bickered about it. I said, "Okay, whatever. It's just a torn butt muscle. I've already been diagnosed. It's kind of a waste of time, but okay, whatever." Did the x-ray, left, went back to work. Week later, she calls me as I'm leaving Popcorn Heaven on my way to lunch and says, "Hey, Trent, just want to tell you that we've got the results of the x-ray and it is aggressive, massive pelvic hip cancer. And you have about a 1/4 inch of bone holding your leg on. Where are you at right now? What are you doing? You need to come straight to the emergency room. Every step that you take, you're in danger of breaking your leg. You break your leg, it's coming off. We're surprised you haven't broken it yet. Get to the emergency room right now." That's the introduction. Yeah. Just blown away, shocked, right? And immediately my mind, this human mind, man, went to the one of the worst places it could have gone. Because about 9 months before this happened, my brother's best friend, one of my good buddies, my aunt and uncle's godson, died of pancreatic cancer at the age of 38 and left his wife and kids.
Mm.
So I'm thinking, oh my God, right? And so that's kind of where everything just started. Yeah.
So it was a rare form of, you said sarcoma.
Sarcomatoid carcinoma, very
Sarcomatoid
rare.
carcinoma.
Yeah, they have no idea how I got it, where it came from, anything. They just have no clue. Don't know where it originated from, how it spreads throughout the body. Don't. It's just a bit of a mystery.
And it was dissolving your bone and muscle in the hip area.
Yeah, yeah,
And that was your left hip.
correct. Yes.
And then what happened from there?
Yeah. So obviously they decided they were going to do a big surgery, and so it's public health care. The process was, let's do the scans, let's build the implant. A couple months later, we'll put the implant in. Well, the cancer would progressed, so the implant wouldn't fit.
Mm.
Third time through, they're like, "Hey, we're cutting your leg off. It's too much. It's too far gone. We're gonna have to do that." I lost it, right? And my dad, I'd gotten smarter after a few appointments because and this is just maybe a little just nugget of advice for people. If you're going in to talk about something serious, take someone with you or have someone on the phone, because what'll happen is they'll deliver this info and you black out. You're talking, you're talking about things, life and death, limb leaving, keeping decisions here. You've talked through this, and then at the end of the appointment, you don't know what you talked about. You don't remember anything. So I'd have my folks on the phone with me to kind of help me remember. Did we all understand this correctly? Did we all, what are we going to do, kind of thing. So they were my support person, you know, and they really, that's something that's really good for you to have. Have a support person with you if you think you need it, right? So my dad stepped in and just said, "Look, my son's a fighter. He's not a quitter. You're going to leave the leg, or we're flying out tomorrow. We're leaving New Zealand. You have to leave the leg. He will make this work one way or another. Just give him a chance. If you cut it off, we're done. You can cut it off later if you have to, but leave it for now. Just leave it for now." So the doctor reluctantly agreed and said, hey, I won't guarantee functionality. I won't guarantee any feeling. We're basically going to cut the leg off, sew it back on. I don't know what's going to happen. It's going to be like a stump. It'll be shorter than the other for sure. He'll be handicapped for the rest of his life, and he'll never walk again, no matter what. Leave the leg. We don't care. So they left the leg, right? Thank God. But surgery was successful, caused a chronic infection. Several more surgeries, IV antibiotics over 4 months and recovery and everything. Never got rid of the infection, but I healed up enough to get out of the hospital. So they released me. Mom and dad went home, back to the factory. And I had never stopped working the whole way through, I mean, I own the business. I didn't want the doors to close. So I just didn't feel like I had a choice. So I'm, running the thing from a hospital bed, literally. I wasn't allowed out of bed for 60 entire days straight. To go to the bathroom, they would kind of put me like on the board and roll me over to roll me back and do my business and then, roll me back over. And, it's very humbling, very humbling. But yeah, so anyways, right. Get back to work, just trying to get back to routine. Mom and dad went home. Next scan, pancreatic and lung cancer. Okay. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Well, pancreatic is obviously the more serious, and it's less than a 5% chance to make it, or a lot of what the statistics say. So that being the more serious thing, we're going to do that surgery first. It's on the bottom end of the pancreas. We're just going to cut that tumor off, and you'll be fine. You'll have the rest of your pancreas, and everything will work fine. Okay, all right. COVID hit. They locked us down between the diagnosis and the surgery. No support in the hospital. You're all alone. Okay, fine. Surgery went good. But on the debrief, it kind of got spun on me of like, well, congratulations, it wasn't cancer. And I'm like, well, okay, well, what was it, right? Ended up, long story short, being a blood clot mistaken for a tumor from the scans and things. I just don't understand, how they couldn't have picked that up. So doesn't matter though, doesn't matter. No consequences in public health care in that situation because you can fill out a complaint form, but there's nothing. So just move on, right? We beat the pancreatic cancer, so to speak. Let's just be happy, move on, take the positive. Then we had the lung surgery. So I had the lung surgery, that got infected. And then so they had decided when I had the original hip surgery, this is kind of what it looks like. I kind of use a few props to kind of to help people. So this is what my pelvis looks like. That would be the spine. This is the right side of the bone. This is what's been removed, and they put a wire right here, and this kind of helps to keep the leg from moving up. Well, they're like, Trent, it's been a year, it's infected. This is what's causing the infection, the wire. Let's take the wire out, right? And I had just a week or so just had this massive lung surgery. Okay, whatever. I don't care. I'm on the drugs, I'm no family there, nobody's, there to really talk. I said, okay, whatever. Well, they did the surgery, got took the wire out, still had the infection. That never got resolved. But what it did is my leg it had nothing to stop it. So over some time, it just kept migrating up to about 4 inches. So this is where my normal leg bone is. This is the other side to a shoe that was this big, crazy. So I'm on crutches with this thing. A couple weeks turned into a couple months. Finally got over the lung infection. The hip thing was still there, but they let me out. So I got out, back to work, just trying to get back in routine. Then the pancreatic thing. So then the next scan is, no, you really do have pancreas cancer. When they found it on the scan, it was this size, about the size of a couple of nickels. I was getting the scan reports by then, reading kind of how it progressed. In about 4 or 5 months, it had grown to the size of a tennis ball. I was like, you know what? Waiting around with this public thing, with these delays and these long lead times between appointments and biopsies and results, I'm going to die here. Can't eat, losing weight, look in the mirror, I'm pale as a ghost. I'm dying. I go to a private oncologist, go to a private pancreatic doctor, private radiologist. I'm like, I got to get some traction here. We got to get moving. The private radiologist said, look, this has progressed too far. Nothing we can do. No surgery. That's too risky. No radiation. Too risky. I'm not having any of that on my conscience, that potentially anything that we do could kill you. So you can go home. What? Wait to die? Point blank. That's what I asked him. And he said, look, there's nothing I can do for you. And I said, we know the percentages. You're telling me to go home and wait to die. And he said, well, I can't do anything for you and you may make it. Okay.
Wow.
Went to the private oncologist, gave me a year. My orthopedic that had done the lung thing, you're done for. You should go and be with your family. Lung doctor, same kind of thing. So everybody started kind of counting me out. And the thing was, I just thought, I didn't realize I was in New Zealand like 17 years. I didn't realize that some of the health care laws had changed, back, a while back, pre-existing conditions, you can't get insurance. So I felt like I was stuck in this public thing because I was there and that's the only insurance. And I lived there for so long, right? I can't come back to the States. Well, my dad and I kind of figured out with the Affordable Care Act that you can get insurance. It's expensive, but there's a stopping point to the limit you're going to pay, right? And, I wasn't going to come home, bankrupt my family, and die on them because the chances were I was going to die, right? I was most likely going to die. And I just thought, well, when I die, they can just ship me home and it's better to be sad than, be sad and broke, is what I thought.
Mm.
Well, we found, kind of this loophole. And I said, you know what? It changed my mindset. And one day I was on the phone with my folks after we'd had an appointment with one of the pancreas doctors, and my folks are solid, man. I was raised, as a Christian and my folks are good, firm Christian people. They're firm, they're awesome, they've been solid, but I could feel it, they were starting to lose hope. Their kids on the other side of the world in the middle of this COVID thing. And, he's going to die there. And I just thought, you know what? I'm tired of watching sad parents bury their kids. And I had a friend as well about 6 months before I was diagnosed. My buddy that owned the cantina down on the waterfront, the Mexican restaurant and everything, got sideways in a business deal and went bankrupt, went out in the woods and offed himself. So I had to watch all that happen as well, right? And I just thought, this is too much, man. I owe it to my folks to fight this thing. I just can't give up. I sat around the house a couple weeks playing the give up game and, waiting around like that. It was horrible. Just waiting around, counting the days like, well, to die, right? And I thought, I can't do this. I mean, I'm gonna go out fighting. I'm not gonna quit. And I just something clicked in me and said, I'm a fighter. I'm not a quitter. If anybody can do this, I can. What my dad said when this whole thing started, and I thought, you know what? A chance is a chance, and you know what? You only have really one chance in life. And kinda, I got a 5% chance. I got five chances. Well, 1 out of 5, I can probably make this thing work somehow. I can figure this out. Every single problem I've ever had in business, we figured it out. Some way, somehow, we figured out a way to get there. And I'm like, this is nothing but a series of problems. We can solve these problems, right? And I thought, but I got to change. I got to make you need a drastic result. You better make a drastic change. So I started looking at my diet, at my exercise, at my mind, my will, my emotions, my body, my spirit, all the stuff, and started thinking, whenever I've got free time and I'm not at work, I'm doing something to better my chances to win today. And if you can win enough days in a row, you'll stay alive. That's kind of how it is. You're not going to win every day. It's not going to happen. But let's try that. So let's make decisions when you get to tonight and you go to bed and you're laying there all by yourself thinking about, I've only got a year to live. Are you happy with your decisions today? Did you make decisions that better your chances? That just change these percentages just a little bit. Make it just a little bit better, right? So that's kind of how I started out. That's how I started out, and just changing, little things in each one, but the whole way through. The diet, the exercise, that's not that hard, right? It's a decision. You either eat this or you don't. You either go exercise or you don't. That's just self-discipline. But the thing with the mind, and that spiritual thing with your thoughts and everything, that's where the real battlefield was. Because I'm practical. I'm factual. These are the facts. This will be the outcome. I'm even, kind of naturally wired up a bit pessimistic. And I call myself a realist, right?
Mm.
So I'm kind of going in already negatively. And it took me, I started with self-help stuff and I started finding stories or anybody, some guy on the internet that was in the same situation as me, that had beaten pancreatic cancer, right? And how did he do it? What did he do? And if I'm doing, if he did this and I'm doing all of this and more, well, I've got a better chance than him, and if I found something, if I found something that resonated with me, let's say it was a story. Let's say it was a book. Let's say it was, a self-help podcast of some sort. It kind of became my theme until it was my theme. And I would just listen to that, whatever it was, like repeatedly, repeatedly, repeatedly. I would put it on repeat and I would listen to it. I'd fall asleep, listen to it. I'd play it all night. I'd wake up, listen to it. And kind of my gauge was I knew that if I woke up and the first thing I was thinking of was this thought or this thing, then it was getting in there, right? It was getting in my subconscious. And then I knew I'm starting to win this game, right? And then I'll know that when something hits me, I'm going to react like this, because my body was in just this fight mode for years, this fight or flight thing. And it's not good for you. It's not good for your body to heal started with the meditation, had a cancer counselor. I tried to do it on my own for a while. That was tough. I needed somebody to talk to. And we started with doing some of the meditations, and I combined a few of them kind of work for me with the leaves on a river and the body scan, and then the tree and the forest thing. I kind of combine those in a way. I mean, you make your own solution, right? And yeah, so some of those things kind of help me. So that kind of gives you maybe a picture of how the whole cancer thing started, and where I was like, I'm going to take myself. I've got to start making some changes. So I came back to the States as they'd given me a year to live. And I thought, you know what, let's fight this from the home front with mom and dad. They were down there with the hip thing. It was so hard on them staying in hotels and having to jump around and to the hospital every day and all, tough. And I just thought, we're in Northwest Arkansas. I've researched, it's a little pocket of medicine here. They're really working hard to make this thing, this place, world-class healthcare on a local level kind of thing is their theme. And I thought this will be better than going all over the country. Let's start at home. Went to the local clinic 5 minutes up the road. And the radiologist, walked in. I told him all my concerns, told him what had happened. He said, look, I think we can zap this thing. What about all these, issues? Well, if we don't do something, it's going to get you. It's going to kill you for sure. I mean, this thing is growing, at an exponential rate. I said, okay, well, let's zap it. And my thought was, I just need a little bit of outside help to kind of change this path. I need something to just do this 180 because I'm in the process of working on my mental and my spiritual and my diet and my exercise and everything else, but I need a little outside help here. And so it had grown to the size of a softball when they zapped it. And we got it. We got the thing, waited 3 months, had a scan, and they're like, well, we're deeming this, successful, evidence of no disease. And I thought, wow, this is unbelievable, And we decided, let's do some immunotherapy. So, I strongly evaluated that. I didn't like the idea of the chemicals, the synthetic chemical thing in my body, because your immune system is the only thing you've got when you fight cancer, right? It's kind of the cancer, it's that or the cancer. It's one of the two, right? And so I'm trying to protect my immune system and do things to build it up. Don't want to tear it down. But I thought, I've already had cancer 3 times. I better do something, right? And I was against chemo. I did not want chemo. For me, it wasn't an option for what I have. I didn't think it was going to work. So we did the immunotherapy, and I'm basically almost 3 years cancer free now. The infection thing, still have the infection. So okay, you're alive. You're here for your folks, but you're handicapped. You're still on these crutches, man, and this is miserable. I hate this. I hate being on the crutch. I want my hands back. I'm tired of people staring at me with this big old shoe I'm wearing. This thing, I mean, goodness gracious, it's just embarrassing. I want to walk again. Went all over the country, researched about doctors all over the world, talked to people. No, 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 no. They did this, they did a replica of my pelvis. This is what my pelvis looks like, right? And they're like, we don't have anything to bolt it to, and you've got this infection. Okay. So we got to try to get over this chronic infection I've had for 2 years, dragging this leg around, shriveled up like a toothpick, and found a doctor again here in Northwest Arkansas through my referral network. This guy's like, one of these little bulldog fighter guys like me, and he just said, look, we're going to get this thing. We're going to figure this out. We're going to get this infection, and we're going to give you a crack at doing this implant. He said, I'll go to bat for you. You're my guy. So I've learned. I started building my team, right? I had my pancreatic doctor, my pancreatic radiation doctor. He was on my team. We had a plan. We created some hope, right? I found somebody. It's like, if that wasn't the right guy for me, then go to the next one. You know, find someone that fits with you. Not every, that's what's so beautiful about the world. Everybody's different. Not everybody works together well. This is a project. Let me pick. I'm the quarterback here. Let me pick my team. I'm picking my team. So I'm building my team. So, I have this infectious disease doctor. We did 3 months of antibiotics, IV, 2 hours every day at the same time. After a few weeks, started getting sick, stomach problems, made me ill. But you know what? I did a 3-month course instead of two. We decided we're going to zap this thing. I just said, look, let's make sure we kill this thing. I don't have to come back and ever do this thing again. And he's like, well, we're kind of pushing the limits of how much we can do. And I just said, well, let's go to the limit, but not over. So we did 3 months, remedied the infection. Had all sorts of scans, aspirations, biopsies, blood tests, everything. It's gone. It's gone, right? So to speak, right? It's not detectable. Well, I find this guy at Mayo. I've been going all over the country for the hip thing. And my orthopedic advisor that had kind of been with me since from the time I got here, kind of advised me we check in every few months. And he's like, wow, man, like you beat this cancer, you know? And now, like, we've beaten the infection. And I said, well, all this is to walk again. I just want to walk again. That just simply, that's all. I said, I can't find anybody. He said, well, I got a guy for you at Mayo. And I think he can do something. I said, but I've already been to Mayo. They've told me no, it's not going to work. He said, you haven't seen this guy. I'm going to personally refer you to him. He worked under me as a student. He does hips and knees that no one in the world will even attempt to do. This is his thing. This is his specialty. I think he could do something for you. Okay. Went up there. We came up with a 3-part plan to try to get the 4 inches back. A couple of inches with a hip implant, a couple of inches with a bone lengthening procedure where they cut the femur, lengthen it with some keys over ratchet system kind of thing. Over some time, the bone will grow, and that's kind of where I get the length back. With the 4¼ inches, you just can't stretch things as far after they shrink, kind of what they say, or you'll paralyze the nerves, and there's just so far you can go. So we kind of, we got 2 3/4 inches back. So, this is the size shoe I wear now. A lot closer to the ground, a lot more stable. Got something to pull against. Got some functionality there now. So what they did at Mayo is they put in the largest, most complex hip implant ever done in the world with some procedures that have never been attempted. This is kind of my little $1 million little implant piece. Goes like this, and you can see that's where the ball is. So you can see kind of where it fits, and you can see the ball is a lot higher on this side than it would be on the other side. And, I like to kind of show this x-ray to people. This is what kind of a typical hip implant would maybe look like, right? You just kind of see the little stem there, something kind of simple. This is what mine looks like, right? You got the rods and the screws going into the spine. You got screws going all the way across on the other side and some stuff down below for support, and you can see the stem there. So that's where we're at, man. That's where we're at.
Before that surgery, did you still have your original hip femur bone with the ball, or was that replaced already at that point?
Yeah, a little bit of a shaving of some sort had come off. They aren't sure if there was some infection from that, but kind of the top of the head was gone, basically. Not sure if someone had cut it off in a surgery or something, but it was pretty much there. So yeah, they basically, kind of removed part of the femur and stuck the stem down in there.
And how's walking now?
Well, I'm on one crutch now. So, it's been 5 years. I've been on 2 crutches, and, I'm on one crutch now. I'll be going to a cane soon, and I think I'll be walking. I'm already kind of walking, let's say, like, from, the bedroom to the living room. I can do that, or, like maybe walk out, from the front door to the car, some, things like that. But no long distances yet. And I'm still kind of doing the one crutch, but man, progress, right? And, the progress breeds progress.
So do you see yourself running in the future, or do you see it kind of stopping at walking? What's your vision right now?
Absolutely. That said, you're not going to run marathons. Okay, no problem. But you know what? I lift weights. And, I'm just careful. I have to be careful, to put the load on that engineering system that they've built. I mean, it could break, right? That's the concern. and it's a one-shot deal. Some of these screws and bolts and stuff, it's a one-shot deal. They get loose, they come out, it's over with. You're back to where you were, and there's no way. I don't look back, right? I
Mm.
leave that back there. I'm a go forward kind of person. So I'm not going to put myself at risk for that. But yeah, I mean, I mean, I'm getting around. I could do yoga. I did yoga for years before to prepare to get myself ready. That was one of the self-help things that really, worked for me was the yoga with the strength and the balance and the mental and the relaxation and the meditation and everything. There's something really cool about yoga because I was kind of a weightlifter guy. I always lifted weights, I played sports, that was kind of the thing, yoga, and what's that? But, hey man, right. I said, give it a try. I'm open-minded to try anything. I'll tell you what, you've been told you're dying enough times, you'll try anything to think if you think it's going to work. And you know what? Most of the things that work are the things that just make simple common sense, that aren't real difficult, that aren't real complex, just the things that just, I mean, what did they do 100 years ago? Right? They didn't have all this stuff 100 years ago, all the conventional medicine. And that's kind of where my perspective was. Let's use conventional medicine as part of it. But, 100 years ago, they go out in the woods, right? They had everything they needed around them. They used herbal supplements. They used, you know, practices like yoga and meditation that because they didn't have surgery or, counselors or, synthetic medications and things like that. So my thought was, let's use this stuff where we can, and let's use it because we have it. Let's don't put our, head in the sand. But if there's a natural alternative, there's a natural option. Let's explore that. Let's try that. For me, my thought was, I think a combination of conventional and non-conventional is going to be the solution that's going to work for me. My tailored solution is going to be only for me, going to work only for me because I'm the only person that's made like this in the world. So, you take the information that you get from the bits and pieces, you think about it, you put it together, and you get to make the final call, not someone else that's trying to help you, right? That's kind of my angle.
Awesome. So what do you feel like there's any one therapy or treatment that you learned about that you did kind of on your own that made the biggest difference for you, or was it that holistic picture of building that mind, body, spirit plan around the conventional care?
The holistic thing was good because it all kind of begins to shape together, right? And as it shapes together, and as time goes on and you continue, it gets bigger, and the snowball gets bigger, and that begins to take over your headspace when you had this thing in here that was a bunch of negative thoughts and a bad outlook and everything that could be horrible. And that thing starts as a small little kind of pea, and as it grows it kind of just takes over your whole head. But one of the things that helped me the most was the meditation. Okay, the really, I mean, I'm just a regular guy, man. I'm not like super like like super spiritual. I'm not kind of like out there crazy with it. I'm pretty realistic. I'm pretty grounded with facts, but I'm open-minded, and I'll try something and I'll give it a good chance. And I just thought, my cancer counselor is saying, try these meditations. I think they'll help you. Okay, I'll do anything. Because man, my head was the fight. It was the game. How are you going to beat this? 5 professional surgeons have told you you're going to die. How are you going to say, no way? Look them in the face and say, you know what? Thank you for your opinion, but I just think you're wrong on this. Right? How do you do that after thinking for 2 years? This mindset, this thing, you're down this path. How do you change that? One of the biggest things was for me was the meditation. Leaves on a river, right? So if you've never done meditation, I will tell you now. The first several times you do it, you're going to think, this didn't work. This is hogwash. Why am I wasting my time? You have to build up. You have to build to it. It's kind of like riding a bike. First time you get on a bike, you don't do it. You got to try it a few times. You got to get on it, and then you kind of get in the groove, right? And you build up, you kind of build that snowball. And the leaves on the river, if you've never heard of it, then basically what it is you're by a stream, you find yourself in a forest, you're by a stream, and the leaves fall off the tree. Those are your problems. They blow into the river. You watch them go down the river to where you can't see them anymore, and your problems go away. I don't know really how this works. I don't know, I don't understand everything behind it, but I can tell you, I did that and I would do it every day. It's a 10-minute meditation, right? And I did it. And then after a couple of months, anytime I started getting worried about my cancer, I'm like, no, 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 no. It's on the leaf. I picture this little cancer thing on a leaf, in the stream, and just watch it go down. And as it goes down the stream, at the end of my stream is Niagara Falls. So that thing falls over and it just gets crushed. So we're going to smash this cancer one way or another, right? And that helped. That was probably one of the biggest turning points for me in my mental outlook. And, using the internet to find people that were in a similar situation. What did they do? How did they beat it? If they can beat it, I can beat it. If someone before me has done it, I can do it too. I'm doing all these things. I'm doing all these things to better my chances. And I mean, I've got to be doing more than this guy. Can he beat it? I'm going to beat this too, you know?
Yeah, you're just an amazing poster child for what I teach with the integrative cancer care.
Cool.
You listen to the conventional doctors and what they have to say. Some will say there's nothing I can do for you, like some had told you, and others say, well, we can do this radiation, we can do this surgery, we can do this chemo, and listen to that and see what the odds are, what the probabilities are that they tell you, and then you can go use that as information of, well, if the chemo doesn't have very much effect, then it's probably better to do these other things and build this holistic plan. But if the chemotherapy is a common one that my certain cancer does respond to, then that's the wisest option, is to do that and do the holistic things around it.
Absolutely.
So conventional therapy has this triangle of chemotherapy, surgery, and radiation. And if you build that into a round circle with the holistic things and add in the diet and the spiritual and the meditation and the exercise and all the other things that doctors don't teach you, then you get this perfect, well-rounded bicycle wheel metaphor. So you can roll forward on that bike. But if you just
Yeah.
have a triangle for wheel and you only listen to the doctors, then you're stuck and you can't roll forward on a triangle wheel. So you kind of intuitively started to build more and more of that holistic, well-rounded plan into your story. So it's amazing.
I appreciate it. You know what? That's a great metaphor. It's a great way to put it, where the holistic kind of smooths the edges, you know? Yeah, you're right. It
And
does. It
inflates
really
the
does.
flat tire.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I'm going to use that if you don't mind.
Definitely. The other thing that I talk about in the first part of my course is the hero's journey. And it just seems like you've really exemplified the hero's journey that is kind of the pattern for Star Wars and Lord of the Rings and Back to the Future and all these great famous stories, where you're in your everyday normal life and you're just in your business, and then you have this cancer diagnosis and this call to adventure, and you're brought out of the ordinary world and everyday life, and you're told you have cancer and your life's never going to be the same. And then you find the mentors, and so you had tons of different doctors and experts and surgeons and coaches and meditation coaches and all these mentors that you kind of hand selected over time. When you're in New Zealand, it sounded like it was more of a finding or just giving what you can in the national medical system, right? You didn't get to shop around as much. But as soon as you came back home to the States, you had a lot more freedom to hand pick your team, like you said, your quarterback. So you hand pick your mentors, and then you go through all these trials and the surgeries and the pain and the infection and the recurrence and the second recurrence and the third recurrence. And it's just a total mess. But yeah, keeping that vision and that mindset and that focus on the future and getting better and that fighting spirit is such a key. And then you finally come back to the end of the journey, receiving that treasure and that wisdom. Luke Skywalker getting that medal at the end of the original Star Wars movie is the symbol of that. And you getting to walk again after all these doctors told you you're never going to walk again, and being alive after all these doctors told you you're not going to be alive anymore after a year. So you're just layers of miracles in your story. And it's an incredible, inspiring story, and just so exciting to be able to meet you and hear it from your own mouth. What do you feel like you've learned from this cancer journey the most about yourself and about life?
Golly, I just more than I ever thought I would. I used to, I used to kind of be one of those people that was busy. I like to be busy. I like to be productive, and I kept myself so busy that I didn't take time to really sit down and think, right? and evaluate. And I think that's what happens in the world today. We live in a constant state of distraction, with these phones, and your phone's going off all the time, and your computer, and then the TV, and then you got friends, and it just you never have time to sit and think. And human beings are unique creatures in that, after a while, something that becomes normal, they take for granted, right? And then they begin to expect it, and then they don't appreciate it. And for me, the simple example is walking. God, you know what I would give to just be able to walk down the road, you know? I mean, what I give to have my hands back and not have to ask somebody, can you please carry my plate for me? Or get my groceries, or somebody needs a hand moving their house, help them out. I can't do a lot of those things right now. I haven't been able to do it for many years, and something that maybe you even hated to do, like, yeah, man, who likes moving? Everybody hates moving, right? Who wants to pick up a bunch of heavy stuff? But God, man, what I'd give to be able to help somebody do that now, and just really appreciating the things that I do have, the things that are precious and are important. And, back, 15, 20 years ago, 25 years ago, right, when I started my career, success was the definition of owning your own business, making a lot of money, and having a lot of things. That's kind of what people viewed success as, right? Kind of a shallow definition. Now, I feel like, that's changed. Things have changed. My mindset's evolved with that. Success is not measured by that. It's the value of the relationships, the legacy that you leave, the impact that you have on your friends and family and people that you've helped in life along the way. To me, that's where the true value of success is to me. So, some of those things have changed. I used to think I was a pretty tough guy, and maybe I was physically, but now mentally I'm a pretty tough guy now. And I've just expanded. I've expanded my mind. I've expanded my spiritual outlook, the way that I look at things. I've evolved more as a person. I think that I'm more aware of things, my surroundings, and I try to check myself and not just take things for granted that I do. And I still catch myself. I'm like, well, I'm 3 years cancer free now. It's kind of like that's in the rearview mirror. And, I get a scan every 6 months, like, man, that quick, I could just be right back into a situation. Being thankful, that I have every day, and try to make it count.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much. A lot of cancer patients afterwards kind of say cancer was the best thing that ever happened to me, or my life is better after the cancer than it was before. I don't know if you could really say that, but in some ways, I think you can see the growth that you've had. Just like lifting weights, you're lifting against that incredible strain and stress, you're going to get bigger muscles. So I think I can see through your journey, you've gained those mental and spiritual and determination muscles. And you can't do as much physically as you could before with walking and lifting weights and helping people move. Yet that's still growth in the future, right? You're still rebuilding that in that long-term recovery process. But do you have any regrets about the process? Do you feel like it has made you a better person?
Overall, it really has. It definitely has made me a better person, made me a stronger person. I'm more aware. I just see things more. I feel like, I was more shallow, back then. It was just kind of like work and play and not a whole lot in between. I feel like now I take the time to kind of evaluate things, look at things. How do I feel about that? What do I want to do? What am I going to do? I sold the popcorn business. I want to, what am I going to do with myself? I want to make an impact, right? What's my, I feel like maybe all this happened because my true calling is to go and talk, share my story with people to say, you know what, even though everybody counts you out and you're down and out, if you stay with it and you don't give up and you don't count yourself out, you can make it. You can do it. It's hard. It's not easy by any means, and I still have tough days. I mean, we all do. I still get beat down on things, and I have to renew and revamp and check in and do that kind of stuff. Still, I mean, it's a long-term maintenance thing. The worst thing you can do is get a little arrogant and stop doing the things that got you where you are, because what's going to happen is you're going to slide back to where you were and not actually progress, because just maintaining something is progressing because you're not digressing. And That's kind of how I look at it.
And so what are you doing now? It sounds like you're doing some coaching and advocating for patients now.
That's really my plan. I just see a big need for people in the healthcare sector industry, public or private, to just better advocate for themselves. People go in and they think that, I've got to do everything that the doctor says it's the end all be all. It's very valuable. You should go to the doctor and get a professional opinion, but you get to make the final call and help people navigate through, this complex medical system. I think people get caught up in, they have a major life, thing happen, and it's like, I should be concentrating on this and my health and, getting better and, what my treatment plan is, instead of getting caught up in this process of, the doctor and how this works and what am I going to do and the billing and the insurance and all the stuff that it involves, right? If you've never had a major event and it hits you, you got two big things to deal with at once, and I think you end up, getting frustrated and anxiety and, losing time on the process when you should be, confident and have empowerment and feel like you have control and choice over your situation. So that's kind of where I feel like I'm moving, kind of like a patient advocate kind of ambassador. And, obviously I can help people on the cancer journey along the way. Been through that. I know what that's like. So, and I do a bit of speaking, I do some speaking, and I like to do the podcast stuff and that thing. So moving towards that, slowly.
And you kind of mentioned what you thought was maybe some of the original cause of the cancer. Could you speak about that a little bit?
Sure. Yeah, looking back, small business, wear many hats. We had a weekend outdoor, like festival craft market business that we started with. And then the manufacturing started during the week, where it was like professional production line stuff, where we had bags that would be on a supermarket shelf. We were busy 8 days a week. Friday was finish up, manufacturing, start up for the weekends. And I thought in the beginning, this is a great idea. I've got, 7 days a week to make money. Well, that means you're also busy 7 days a week. So for 7 years straight, we did that. And I worked almost every day. And, I remember, clocking 100-hour weeks. If I wasn't, at the factory, inevitably, I got called out for something. Somebody didn't show up, something broke, something happened, and, worked too much. And I began to, my priority became my business and my work, instead of taking care of myself. So I kind of slacked off on going to the gym. That wasn't a priority, or eating right, or taking some time for myself, taking a vacation, or, whatever, a lot of those things. And I think the stress, the lack of sleep, the crappy diet, no stress relief, all that kind of stuff definitely contributed to, I think, getting cancer. Because, cancer, right? It's abnormal cells. Well, what causes those? Pressure and stress. It starts making these abnormal cells and these inflamed cells. And, you have them, your body makes those every day, but your immune system filters them out. So when all that kind of gets out of whack, that's when you kind of get the big C. And I think, you have to balance those things out. You got to keep, life is a human being's made up of these different bits and pieces, and you kind of got to keep all these balls, juggling and balanced to be healthy.
I think that's just a beautiful illustration of how the Word of God with the Bible, God taking that one day out of seven as a Sabbath day of rest is such a massively important principle, to have that balance of resting and working. We have these waking and sleeping cycles every day, and then every week we have to have those working and resting cycles too. So that kind of commandment from thousands and thousands of years ago of you have to take one day out of the week and do nothing as far as your physical day-to-day work, and then devote that to God, is such an incredible principle. Even if you're not a religious person or spiritual person, it's still a principle that will support your wellness, support your health, no matter what. And I just think it's an incredible law that it makes so much sense when you think about it. And it came directly from God, so you can't really question it too much.
Yeah. It's kind of like the meditation thing for me. It's like, well, I don't really know why, but I'm just going to do kind of what works, right? I mean, this is the rule. Just follow the rule. You don't have to know the why on a lot of things. That's kind of what faith is, right? That's one of the things that I had to do, because I'd be so hard on myself that it's like, you better do the things you need to do to put yourself in the right place. So you better your chance to do this. And then the part in between where you can't control it or you don't know what's going to happen, that's, where the faith comes in or the grace comes in, and that's the difference. But I like to have that feeling of I've done my part. You got to come to the table. You can't just, sit around just wishing, waiting, and wanting for a miracle. You better put yourself in the right spot to get it right, to receive what you want. So I just firmly believe that I got to do my part, and the part I can't do will take care of itself.
Do you have any YouTube videos or anything that you've put up about your story yet?
I have a channel, and I've done several podcasts in the last year. So I have a favorites kind of playlist that I have my podcast on that I've done. So people can go out there and look at that if they want to see. Every podcast is a little different than I do, but it's similar to talking about the cancer journey.
And then if people wanted to work with you as a coach, it looks like trentbrockcoaching.com.
Yep, that's it. That's my website. I do a little bit of speaking. I do some coaching. I'm in development of some courses for kind of the patient advocate field that I mentioned earlier. So, it's good. I'm co-authoring a book, my second book that I'm co-authoring, working on right now for January, and I got to be a part of a project where there's 20 authors in this book, and they've all had an obstacle that they overcame in some way, some manner. And I got a chapter, and I was the one that was the cancer in the book. So that's kind of cool, kind of neat. I got to do that. Yeah.
Such an amazing story, so many miracles layered on top of each other, and to see you kind of in the middle of that recovery journey of from walking to running and rebuilding your life from here. So we're looking forward to hearing your unfolding story in the future. And it's been an absolute privilege to hear your story of survival and triumph. And yeah, I just look forward to hearing all the great news in the future.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on, Dr. Lemmon. It's been awesome. I appreciate it. And I just hope we reach somebody that we haven't reached and they just get a little something out of it. And it's like, this makes my day better. This makes my situation outlook. You just shift that a little bit. That's really what I want to do is we just want to help people a little bit, don't we?
Absolutely. Thank you so much. It's
Thank
been
you. Appreciate
a
it.
pleasure to be
Pleasure.
here.
Yeah, thanks.
Take good care. Bye-bye.
You too. Okay, bye-bye.
Hey guys, I'm on a mission to touch the lives of over 10,000 cancer patients this year, and I want you to join me in this cause. So if you or someone you love is dealing with a cancer diagnosis right now, I want you to like this video, share this video, and subscribe to the channel so you can continue to watch this life-changing content. There are a few links down in the description below to join a free private natural cancer support group on Facebook. You can join this group or invite any of your friends, especially cancer survivors. We need their input and emotional support in this group. For you or anyone that you love, click the link for 3cancerinsights.com to watch the short free presentation to understand how to transform your health, the right way to treat cancer, and ways to reduce cancer treatment side effects. I created the Cancer Detox course to support you and your loved ones through the cancer journey. I take you on a guided tour through the 7 pathways of healing, talk about the causes of cancer, the ways to reverse it, and how to integrate natural remedies into your conventional treatment plan if you so choose. And if you like to read, my book, Natural Home and Herbal Healing, is available on Amazon and Audible, and it takes you on a room by room guided tour of all the powerful healing remedies that can be found throughout your own home and property. So check out the links in the description below, and I'll see you in the next video.